Welcome back to the Vacation Rental Scale Up podcast. I'm your host, Thibault Masson. Today, we're diving into the story of the self-proclaimed Wolf of Airbnb, Konrad Bicher. This episode will uncover how Bicher masterminded an illegal subletting scheme that netted him millions, and we'll discuss the recent court decision that finally brought his operation to a halt. Let's get started. The name Wolf of Airbnb conjures images of cunning and ruthless financial maneuvers, doesn't it? And that's exactly how Konrad Bicher wanted to be seen. On July 22, 2024, in a Manhattan federal court, Bicher was sentenced to over 4 years in prison for his involvement in an illegal subletting scheme. He will also serve 3 years of supervised release, forfeit $1.7 million, and pay $2.2 million in restitution. This case has significant implications for the short-term rental industry, especially for those of us who strive to maintain ethical practices. So, who is Konrad Bicher? This 32-year-old from Hialeah, Florida, operated under the alias Wolf of Airbnb, a nod to the infamous Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Bicher's rise began in 2019, exploiting loopholes and protections meant to help tenants during the COVID-19 pandemic. He leveraged these to rent Manhattan apartments, turning them into illegal short-term rentals. But how did he manage to pull off such a massive scam? Let's break it down. Over $1.5 million in illegal rentals, over $2 million gained fraudulently, and more than $450,000 in unpaid rent. These staggering figures mark the dubious achievements of Konrad Bicher. His business model was simple yet illicit. From 2019 to 2022, Bicher and his associates leased apartments in Manhattan, signing agreements that explicitly forbade them from subletting or renting the units to a third party. However, Bicher did exactly that. He put these units on short-term rental sites, including Airbnb, and not only missed rent payments, but also refused to vacate the units when the leases expired. This strategy proved profitable for Bicher. From July 2019 to April 2022, he and his associates skipped more than $1 million in rent payments, while earning nearly $1.2 million in income from renting out the units. But Bicher's activities weren't limited to rent evasion. He exploited COVID-19 protections to avoid being evicted and also took advantage of pandemic-related government loan programs, notably the Paycheck Protection Program. Bicher submitted at least 4 applications for PPP loans and obtained more than $565,000 using fraudulent information, such as forged tax documents. Isn't it fascinating how he manipulated the system? But that's not all. Bicher's social media was a testament to his ill-gotten gains, flaunting a lifestyle of private jets and luxury vacations. But behind the flashy facade was a scheme that defrauded landlords and exploited government relief programs. Let's delve deeper into how he did it. Bicher and his associates leased apartments under agreements that explicitly forbade subletting. Despite this, they rented these units on platforms like Airbnb, Peerspace, and others without paying rent and refusing to vacate when leases expired. Prosecutors described Bicher's modus operandi as entering leases, subletting units as mini hotels, failing to pay rent, and using pandemic laws to delay eviction. His brazen texts revealed his intentions, stating he would rape every single landlord in NYC and flaunting his plans to continue the scheme unabated. From July 2019 to April 2022, Bicher and his team evaded over $1 million in rent payments while earning nearly $1.2 million from short-term rentals. He exploited COVID-19 tenant protections to avoid eviction and obtained over $565,000 through fraudulent Paycheck Protection Program applications. These actions were not just unethical, but illegal, leading to his eventual arrest and prosecution. What lessons can we, as short-term rental managers, learn from this? First, it's crucial to understand and adhere to the terms of our lease agreements. Bicher's lease agreements explicitly forbade subletting or renting the units to a third party. By going against these terms and subletting the units anyway, he violated his lease agreements and broke the law. Secondly, collecting rent from short-term tenants while failing to pay the rent owed to landlords is not only a violation of contractual obligations, but also a criminal act of fraud. And third, Bicher refused to vacate the units when the leases expired, further infringing upon the rights of the property owners. He weaponized COVID-19 protections to avoid eviction from the units he was illegally subletting and fraudulently applied for government loan programs intended to provide relief during the pandemic, further compounding his legal offenses. The business model employed by Konrad Bicher, known as the Wolf of Airbnb, can be identified as a form of rental arbitrage. Rental arbitrage is a strategy where one leases property on a long-term basis and then rents it out on a short-term basis, aiming to profit from the difference between the long-term lease cost and the short-term rental income. Many Airbnb hosts employ this business model ethically and legally to great success. However, Bicher's implementation of rental arbitrage deviated significantly from ethical and legal practices. While rental arbitrage can be a legal and ethical business model when implemented correctly, the Wolf of Airbnb case underscores the importance of adhering to all contractual obligations and local regulations. It's a stark reminder that any deviation from legal and ethical practices can have severe consequences. So, as ethical Airbnb hosts, what can we do to ensure we stay on the right side of the law? First, always read and understand your lease agreements thoroughly. Make sure you are allowed to sublet or use the property for short-term rentals. Secondly, ensure you are transparent with your landlords about your rental activities. And finally, stay informed about local laws and regulations regarding short-term rentals. The story of Konrad Bicher, the so-called Wolf of Airbnb, is certainly an outlier in the otherwise vibrant and respectful community of Airbnb hosts. Most hosts, like you, carry out their operations with integrity and respect for the law, making stories like this one all the more impactful. Cases like Bicher's tend to garner media attention and can contribute to the growing scrutiny and regulation of short-term rentals. As we navigate these ever-evolving regulatory landscapes, it's beneficial for all of us to remain informed about our local laws and Airbnb's policies. Understanding and complying with local laws and regulations regarding short-term rentals is part of our shared responsibility as hosts. Being aware of the terms of our lease agreements and respecting the rights and expectations of landlords and property owners not only serves to protect us legally, but also helps to foster a positive relationship with our communities. The tale of the Wolf of Airbnb is indeed an exceptional one, and while it is a stark example of how illicit activities can lead to serious legal repercussions, it's also a reminder of our collective role in shaping the narrative around Airbnb and the broader short-term rental market. In light of such incidents, let's use this as an opportunity to recommit ourselves to conducting our operations ethically and legally. After all, our collective actions contribute to the public's perception of Airbnb and can influence future regulations and policies. Public perception will play a critical role in Airbnb's fight against short-term rental bans. As hosts, let's continue to uphold the values of honesty, respect, and responsibility that form the cornerstone of our community and work together to support a sustainable and respected short-term rental market. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Vacation Rental Scale-Up podcast. I hope this story provides insight into the importance of ethical practices in our industry. Stay informed, stay compliant, and let's continue to build a trustworthy and respected short-term rental market together. Until next time, This is Thibault Masson signing off.